Hey guys, we're going to do another video here. This time we're going to do decimals to fractions. We're going to talk about how to change a decimal number into a fraction number. And again, I'm going to say this a lot in class, but decimals and fractions are the same exact thing. We just have two ways of writing a number. We actually have more than two ways, but it's just identical ways of showing a number. It's just sometimes decimals are easier to solve in problems and fractions are sometimes easier to solve in problems. So we want to be able to go back and forth between the two. So here's what we're working on. We're going to look at a problem here. Example 1. We want to take the decimal negative 2.625 and we want to change it into a fraction. We want it to look like a fraction. What is it equal to as a fraction? So a few things. First off, when I see negative 2.625, negative 2 is the whole number piece of this. So I know negative 2 is going to be at the start of my fraction. I just need to actually figure out what the fraction is, what goes on in the numerator and denominator, top and bottom. So it's the 0.625 that I have to pay attention to. And this is where some of the old things you've learned about place value come into play. 6, 2, and 5 each have a place value. On the right side of the decimal, we say that 6 is in the tenths place. So tenths, that THS. We say 2 here is in the hundredths place, hundredths. And we say this last one, the 5 is in the thousandths place, thousandths. And that place value is really going to help me out in writing a fraction. If I have a tenths, hundredths, thousandths place decimal, I'm going to go to the very last place here and use that to make my fraction. I have a decimal in the thousandths place. And it's 625, so 625 thousandths. So my fraction should be 625 thousandths. And an easy way to check this is on my calculator. I can take 625 and divide it by 1,000. And it should equal my exact number that I'm working on here, which look, it does if you can. There you go. Now you can kind of see it. 625 divided by 1,000 is 0.625. So we did everything great. The only thing is I'm looking at this problem thinking I'm sure we could simplify this down. This is a big fraction. Why don't we divide the fraction down into something simpler? So an easy number that I know it divides by is I could easily divide it by 5. 625 divided by 5 is 125. And 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. So I easily could divide that down. I'm going to divide it even more. So now I have negative 2 is the whole number and 125 200ths. 125 200ths. Well, why don't I divide by 5 again? I can tell that 5 goes into both of these. 200 divided by 5 is 40. And 125 divided by 5 is 25. So I have 25 40ths. Gosh, I can divide by 5 again. So now I have negative 2 and 25 40ths. But I know that 25 divides by 5 and 40 divides by 5. I already know that in my head. 25 divided by 5 is 5. And 40 divided by 5 is 8. Because 8 times 5 is 40. So I have negative 2 and 5/8. Negative 2 and 5/8. And that is as simplified as I'm going to be able to get this decimal, or this fraction. 5/8 isn't going to simplify anymore. So this decimal, negative 2.625, is equal to negative 2 and 5/8. And again, I can check it one more time here. Watch this. 5/8, I'm wondering if I did my simplifying right. 5 divided by 8 is 0.625, the exact decimal we were working with. And so that makes up my answer. So let me show you another example. That's just one problem. So let's do another one here. And the next one, example 2, is negative 10.25. And we want to change this into a fraction. Negative 10.25. So first off, negative 10 is the whole number in front. So I'm just going to write negative 10. And then instead of a decimal, I don't know why I did that, but we're going to be making a fraction. Now, we're going to look at place value to figure this out. So 2 is in what we call the tenths place. I'll write it like this time. And 5 is in what we call the hundredths place. So since 5 is on the very end and the hundredths is the biggest place value, we're going to have a fraction over 100. And we're going to have 25 hundredths. So my answer is negative 10 and 25 hundredths. But I know I can simplify that fraction. 25 hundredths can reduce down. I can divide it by 25. I know 25 divides by this evenly. 25 divided by 5 is just 1. So that equals 1. And 100 divided by 25 is 4. So I get this negative 10 and 1/4. And that should be the right answer. That means negative 10.25, my decimal, is equal to negative 10 and 1/4. So check it. What's 1 divided by 4? What's a fourth as a decimal? I already know we're right, but we're going to double check. It's 0.25. So there you go. Okay, so now you get to try. I'm going to give you 2 problems here, an A and a B. I really want you to try and pause the video and see if you can do this, because if you pause it, work out the problems, and then you unpause the video and check your answers and you're getting it right, then you're going to feel good like you know what you're you're getting this and understanding it. So here they are, A and B. 0.7 is the first decimal. Change it to a fraction. And the other one is negative 3.142. Change it to a fraction. Go ahead and try. Okay, hopefully now you're unpausing the video and you're trying to see if you got the right answer. So the first one's really fast. The answer for the first one is 7 is in what we call the tenths place. So we have 7 over 10. And that can't simplify. There's nothing I can divide 7 by other than itself. So 7/10 is going to be my answer. And you can always check these on a calculator to see if you're actually getting it correct. 7 divided by 10 should show up as 0.7. It does. So we know we're doing it right. On B, there's going to be a little bit more work involved. We have a whole number out in front, negative 3. So it's going to be negative 3 and a fraction. I see place value going out to the third place value up past the decimal. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths. We have another number in the thousands. And it's 142 thousandths. Now 142 thousandths has got to simplify down. That's a big fraction. So negative 3 and 142 thousandths. One of the things I know that 142 can easily divide by, since it's even, is by 2. So I'm going to divide it down by 2 as a kind of a starting point. So let's see here. 142 divided by 2 is 71. So 71, and 1,000 divided by 2 we know is 500. Cut that in half. So we get this negative 3 and 71 500ths. 71 is not going to divide down by anything. I know that number is only going to divide by itself. So I'm going to leave it just like this. Negative 3 and 71 500ths. And that's what's equal to negative 3.142. Same as that decimal. Put a little equal sign there. So let's check it on a calculator because we want to check. We want to make sure we're doing things right. So 71 divided by 500. Let's see if I did this correctly. Is 0.142. Yep, our exact decimal that we wanted. So we are good to go. And that's our answer. Okay guys, we're going to keep working on this in class, but I hope that kind of helps practicing decimals to fraction. Thanks.